We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? How about them dogs? Welcome back to the first in-season edition of the Glory GA podcast here on YouTube, at least for the 2025 season. And today, I'm going to break down Georgia's season opening 45-7 beatdown of the Marshall Thundering Herd from every conceivable angle, guys, with grades for every single position unit on the team. We're going to have a lot of fun with that, guys. We're going to dive deep today because that's what we do here on this channel. But first, before we do any of that, a huge thank you is in order. I set a goal back in the early part of the summer to hit 3,000 subscribers on this channel by the time we got to week 1. Well, guys, we hit that goal about a month or so ago. So then I set a new goal. All right, let's do 3,500. And you guys responded. We hit that goal, I think, Friday night. So right before we got to week 1 on Saturday. So thank you guys so much. I know like it's small potatoes in the grand scheme of YouTube channels, right? I get that. Hey, we're doing this thing, been running the audio side of the podcast for this is the 11th year now, but we've just kind of gotten into YouTube. A late start, yeah, I know, but here we are. So thank you guys. It's so sincerely appreciated. Thank you so much. And it's just, I'm glad to have all you guys here. It's been a lot of fun doing this, and we're going to keep this thing rolling. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And speaking of goals, I'm a goal setter, guys. You hit a goal, you make a new goal. So now we have a new goal. We hit 3,500, new goal, 5,000 subscribers by the time we get to the end of the 2025 Georgia football season, which hopefully is like mid-January, if you catch my drift there. So if you have not already, and you're a diehard Georgia fan, I think you're going to love what we do here on this channel. Go ahead, subscribe right now, hit the notifications button, like the videos, comment, all that stuff. Let me know what you guys think about Georgia's big win over Marshall. And guys, we'll do these reaction episodes usually every Sunday. We'll have it for you Sunday evening around 5, 6 o'clock. That's the goal. But this week, yeah, it's a little different. It's Labor Day weekend. I headed out of town after the game for just a day and a half getaway, a little Labor Day weekend getaway. But I am back now, and I do really appreciate your patience just waiting an extra day to get this out there. So thank you for that. But we'll have an episode like this every week. We'll have deep dive game previews every single week. We'll have predictions. I'll give you guys my best bets every week. A ton of stuff coming your way. And guys, it's all designed for you die-hard Georgia fans. That's what we do here in this channel. So if you're new to the show, subscribe. Keep on coming back, guys. I think you'll love it. But all right, let's get to the good stuff, guys. Let's talk some Georgia football. We always talk Georgia football. That's what we do here on this channel. But we have actual games to talk about, guys. It's a long, miserable 9-month offseason, but here we are. We don't have to worry about offseason narratives anymore. We are now in season. We've got real football to break down. So let's start here, guys. I'm going to do every single position on the team. And I'm going to give you a grade. I'm not big on usually like throwing out grades because I think it's just so arbitrary in nature. Like what does an A mean to me? What does an A mean to this guy or you? Like it's arbitrary, right? But I also know from experience doing this podcast for 11 years that you guys tend to like grades because it gives you something to like gauge, I guess. So I'll do it. We'll throw the grades out there and also in the process tell you what I thought about the performance of each position. What surprised me, what impressed me, what concerned me. I know a big win over Marshall is not much to concern you, but there were a few things. We'll dive into all those stuff. But guys, I want to start offensively, and then we'll move over to the defensive side of the football. Big picture offensively, I told you guys last week when I tried to preview as much as I could what this Marshall team was going to bring to the table on Saturday with basically an entirely new roster, entirely new coaching staff. I told you guys from a defensive standpoint, they were going to likely run what their coach had been running NC State for the last 6 years, which was a version of like a 3-3-5 stack defense. I also told you guys I felt against that scheme, it was a high likelihood that we would want to run the football right at them early and often and just pound the ball and pound them into submission, right? Why did I think that? Well, because if you go back and look historically, what has Georgia done against teams that run these 3-3-5 stacks? We just run the football right at them, downhill rushing attack. We just grind the clock, pound the football at them, and just take their souls. That's kind of what we do. I always go back to the Arkansas game 2021. They ran a version of that, and we just took their soul in that game, run the football right down their throat. And also, if you think about last year, how bad we were running the football, 15th out of 16 teams in the league. It's unacceptable for Georgia football, like the most un-Georgia football thing there's ever been in my lifetime, at least. You had to think that we want to come out and establish the run immediately week one. And then we're facing a team that runs a 3-3-5 stack, which kind of lends itself to that. Yeah, it just made too much sense that we were going to try to run the football. So, yes, offensively, the game plan did look a lot like I expected it to look. And we also had the type of success that I thought we would going back to that preview episode that I did last week. We ended up with 239 yards rushing, 5.4 yards per carry. Great day on the ground. Guys, that was more rushing yards against Marshall. I know it's Marshall. I know it's a new team. I know they lost everybody to the transfer portal. Like, I know that. We've talked about that. But I don't care, guys. That's more rushing yards than we had against any team last year. We played Tennessee Tech. We played UMass last year, guys. We didn't run the ball for 239 yards against those teams. Well, week one, right off the bat, yeah, we're back to doing what Georgia football does offensively, running the football downhill and just establishing that physical identity with that ground game. We went heavy gap schemes. You want to get specific? Like we did some zone stuff. There was a couple split zones here and there, but we went heavy gap scheme against this 3-3-5 stack, which makes a lot of sense, right? You create some angles that way. And I don't know if that's something that will carry on in the future or if this was just more of a game plan specific thing. It's what we expected to see defensively from that Marshall football team in the style of defense that they run. But we went heavier gap scheme in this game against Marshall than we did at any point last year. Like we ran gap scheme stuff, of course we did, but not like that deliberately and that consistently as we did in that game right there. So I love that. And if you guys like, I use the term gap scheme. If you're not familiar with what that means, it's basically like you're pulling guards and tackles and tight ends, and you aren't running zone stuff, right? You're attacking gaps instead of zones. So we saw a lot of that stuff. Love that there. I will say offensively, I'm very encouraged by what I saw from this Georgia offense, especially coming off last year, which I've made no bones about. I've been saying all offseason it was a disaster offensively. Run game in particular, but in general offensively, it was a dramatic decline from the production we saw in 2023 for the Mike Bobo offense. And of course, that created opportunities for people who hate Bobo, which is a sizable segment, at least a vocal minority at the least, of the Georgia fan base. I'm sure some of you out there probably fall into that category or identify as a Bobo hater, which, hey, do your thing. So it created opportunities for people to rip the guy after a spectacular 2023 season in terms of statistically what he put up, one of the 2 to 3 best offenses in Georgia football history, averaged more yards per play than any offense in Georgia history. But last year, yeah, it was not good enough. And we saw signs of us getting back to where we needed to be offensively if we legitimately want to win national title, which is what Georgia does, guys. That is our goal year in, year out from this point on. We want to win national titles. It's a realistic goal every single year. Some years more than others certainly. But if we want to get back to winning a national title, what would be our third in 5 years? We've got to be more productive offensively in general, and we had to find a way to run the football more effectively and more efficiently and more consistently, which we did all of in this game against Marshall. So, yes, it's Marshall. Be careful about drawing definitive conclusions against a team like this. We got to be careful there. We got to have to understand that. But again, I also see a lot of reasons to be extremely excited about this offense course correcting and really addressing some of the issues that plagued them all last year, guys. What were those issues? Yeah, run game, receiver play. We saw dynamic receiver play, which we'll get to here in a minute. And I think we saw signs of this offense maybe not getting back to the heights of what we saw in 2023, averaging over 7.2 yards per play, the best in Georgia football history. Even if you hate Mike Bobo, the numbers are the numbers. I'm not ready to say after just beating Marshall that we're going to get back to that type of dominance and that type of production. But I do think it's fair to say we saw signs to suggest that this offense in 2025 will be much closer to the production of 2023 than what we saw last year, because a lot of those issues that plagued this last year, I think we saw signs of us correcting those issues. All right, that's a big picture look. Let's get into the positions, position by position, offensively, and I'll give you guys a grade and a little overview on what I thought about the performance from that position. All right, let's start at the top, guys. Quarterback here. I mean, we got to go to the most important position on any football team. I'm going to go B plus here. B plus, not quite an A. You can call me a strict grader if you want. That's fine. Some of you might think Gunner deserved an A. We could throw in Puglisi as well. Maybe you're right. I don't know. That's why I said grades, like it's arbitrary. Like what is B plus to me might mean A to you. Like what does it even mean, right? But B plus is the grade. And I'll say this about Gunner Stockton. Gunner Stockton was everything that I thought he would be coming into this season. Let me explain what that means here momentarily. So what do you put up production wise? 263 total yards, 4 total touchdowns, 2 in the ground, 2 through the air. but it was his legs, guys. And look, Gunnar Stockton's not going to remind anyone of Jalen Milroe, as I've said throughout the offseason. He's not that kind of athlete at the quarterback position, but make no mistake about it, Gunnar Stockton is an athlete from the quarterback position, more so than we've had in quite some time. Stetson was a really good athlete as well, just not as big and powerful of a runner as Gunnar is. So Gunnar's legs, Jalen Milroe or not, even if he's not that style of runner, his legs, his ability to run the football, and the threat he can pose as a runner changes the entire dynamic of the Georgia offense, guys. It stresses defenses in a way we simply were unable to last year with Carson Beck at quarterback. And I don't want to make this a Carson Beck slam fest. We heard all about how Georgia fans just made the guy cry all last night in that Miami Notre Dame game. Like, okay, like he's the victim now, I guess. Whatever. I do wish him the best. Like, I have no ill will towards him. I know some Georgia fans do, but like, hey, he's at Miami now. We got Gunner. He's probably better off. He need to change the scenery. We need to change the scenery. I like who we got. He likes where he is. It's a win-win for everybody. I don't know why it can't just be as simple as that. But go back to what I said, guys. I know that it probably caught me off guard. Maybe it's a little aggressive, but I do think, again, that Gunner's legs change the entire dynamic of the Georgia offense. Why do I think that? Well, guys, again, let's go back to how much trouble we had running the football last year. 15th out of 16 teams. We ran the ball for like 60 yards less per game than the next worst year we've had running the football in the Kirby Smart era. That's how bad it was running the football last year, guys. It was a train wreck for a variety of reasons. One of those reasons was Carson Beck. Not that Carson wasn't good, it's the style of quarterback that Carson was, right? Yeah, there are offensive line issues. Yeah, there are injuries on the offensive line. Yeah, we didn't block well on the perimeter. Sure, the receivers didn't pose enough of a vertical threat down the field to scare defenses, so they were able to stack the box and they outnumbered us, and that made it really hard for us to find answers there. But that's the point. When we got outnumbered in the box, there are ways to take back the numbers. One of which being having a quarterback that poses a threat to run, right? Because now what you can do is you can option off the defender. You can basically erase the defender from the box count by optioning off of him. And or you can now use a running back as a lead blocker, thereby accomplishing the same thing, and you're taking the numbers back. You get a +1 scenario there, right? We simply couldn't do that. How many times did we see last year our running backs getting stopped at or behind line of scrimmage by an unblocked defender, right? Not because we were incapable of blocking, because we didn't have enough dudes to block, because we couldn't scare them on the outside. They felt comfortable manning up on the outside. They bring the guys in the box, and we didn't have a quarterback that could do anything to take those numbers back. Like, yeah, what we did is we basically turned the RPO game, which drove people insane with all the screens that we ran, but that was like our extension of the run game, our way to try to take back the numbers. But it's more complicated when you don't have a quarterback that can run. When you have a quarterback like Gunner who poses a threat to run, what that will do is give Georgia the numbers edge in the box. That will open up more room for guys like Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens, who had a good game, and all the other backs. Dwight Phillips Jr. had a great game. Peanut doing some big things. That first touchdown of the season there. So those guys are good backs. They are going to be able to rip off some explosive plays in the run game. Gunnar Stockton's gonna be a big part of that, guys, because his presence will make it more difficult for defenses to account for our run game, right? They have to account for him, and that opens up room that holds backside ends. I mean, there was a play yesterday. It was gorgeous, man. So Gunnar Stockton, I mean, it's just so simple. It's so simple, but it's gorgeous. We didn't see it last year. It was Gunnar's touchdown, his first touchdown run. We're in like a simple mesh action, right? The defensive end crashes wildly out of control on our running back. I think it was Bowens on that play. And Gunner pulls it wide open around the end, walks in for a touchdown, essentially, right? We were incapable of doing that last year, guys. What would happen is teams would crash on the backside like that with reckless abandon because they knew we had no threat of Carson really pulling it and hurting them in any way, shape, or form. So they just crash, and they would chase down our backs behind line of scrimmage or at line of scrimmage and just completely suffocate our run game. Gunner's simple ability to pull that football and hold defenses accountable. Like, yeah, okay, on that play, a couple plays in that game, because they were obviously have been watching our film from last year. Oh yeah, this is how you play Georgia. We're just going to crash hard on the run game and try to suffocate like everybody else did last year. Well, Gunner said, all right, hold my beer. Watch this. Pulled it, touchdown, right? Now, what's going to happen eventually, maybe as early as this coming week against Austin Peay, defenses will have watched the tape against Marshall and say, oh, Gunner can pull it. And now those backside ends are not going to be crashing with reckless abandon. They're going to be doing the surf technique, right? And what will that do? Well, now that's going to open up room for guys like Frazier and Bowens and Dwight Phillips to rip off some more explosive runs of their own, right? So as Gunner was able to rip off those runs today or Saturday because of how Marshall was defending us, like basically all teams did last year. But now with Gunner showing that, they have to account for him. They have to be slower in their pursuit backside, which will open up lanes for our running backs to hopefully create some explosive plays. I do think we have some really good running backs there. So that's why I say that Gunner's legs change the entire dynamic of our offense. It's going to improve our run game. If our run game improves, that means we're going to have one-on-one shots on the outside. Teams are going to have to roll guys in the box. I think we have the receivers out wide this year to make teams play. We have guys that can legitimately win, multiple guys that can legitimately win one-on-one. So that's why I say his legs changed the entire dynamic. But at the end of the day, Gunner was our leading rusher in this game, guys. 10 carries, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was decisive. Because, again, Gunner is not the most dynamic runner. Plenty fast enough, plenty athletic enough, but he was decisive. He got downhill consistently, with the exception of one play. A beautiful quarterback power, like a counter power play that he should have planted his foot and cut up field and picked up 5 or 6 yards with his physicality and decided to kind of try to bounce outside and got tackled like a half-yard gain, 1 yard gain, something like that. But outside that, he was really decisive, athletic. He was breaking tackles. That's the other part of his run game. It's not just the athleticism. The guy's a powerful runner. You go back to watching him at Raven County. That's how this guy played football, man. He's just an old school throwback guy at the quarterback position. You saw in the SEC championship game last year trying to run over Texas defenders and basically got his head blown off. But hey, that's Gunner, right? For better or worse, that's Gunner. So love what he did from a run game standpoint. As a passer, he was good. We didn't throw the ball a ton. We were very vanilla offensively, obviously by design against a team like this. Ended up being 14 and 24 for 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think there were a few throws. If you want to ask, like, Tyler, why did you not give Gunner Stockton an A? Well, there were a few throws and a decision or two that maybe weren't quite as sharp from him that I would have liked. That kind of kept him from that A status. One particular, it was a huge gain. It was a play action, and we had Oscar Delp leaking out in the first half, wide open. There's nobody within 10 yards of Oscar. If Gunner hits him on the move in stride, which he did for the most part the rest of the game, he did a really good job of hitting the guys in stride on the moves. They could continue to pick up yards. Zachariah Branch in the first half, I think in the first quarter, one of those that comes to mind. He completed the ball to Oscar, but he threw a little bit behind him, so Oscar had to, like, turn his body around. He's tight end. He's not a receiver. And yeah, he caught the ball, big gain, but it probably should have been a touchdown. And that's fine against Marshall. Who cares? You win 45-3. Well, against Tennessee in 2 weeks, that might matter if that's not a touchdown, right? We need those. That's a layup. That should have been a layup, and that's got to be a touchdown. Yeah, we completed it, big gain, but that should have been more. So I know, I'm splitting hairs here. I get it, but if I'm gonna give you an A, like, you got to be like spectacular. I thought Gunner was awesome, but there were a few things I'm like, oh, we got to clean that up a little bit. There was one throw that I think was trying to fit it into a tight window to Dylan Bell, I want to say, in the first half, and it could have easily been completed, but it probably was an unnecessary risk there. So there's a couple of decisions, a couple of throws there that kept it from an A. But Gunner was awesome, guys. Loved everything I saw from him. I will say this about Gunner: the ceiling is still TBD for me, because, like, you're playing Marshall. We didn't throw the ball a ton there, but it's going back to what I said all offseason about Gunner Stockton. This performance as Marshall showed why the floor for Gunner, in my opinion, is so incredibly high. I said all offseason that the ceiling is to be determined. Like, can he be an elite guy? I don't know if we can tell that from Marshall, but I think we can say that, all right, the guy's not going to be a disaster. He's not going to be a guy who goes out there and face plants, and we got to turn to our backup like week 3, week 4. I think Gunner's going to be really good. Will he be elite? Will he be a great all season long? We'll see. We'll see. I think the chance is there. I'm open to it, baby. I'm open to it. I just need to see it against maybe a little higher level competition there. So, but anyway, love what I saw from Gunner. Let's go Ryan Puglisi here real quick. Obviously, he didn't play as much as Gunner. Got in about midway through the third quarter. I thought Puglisi looked very good considering the stage that he is at in his development. Got to remember, guys, basically missed his entire first spring and first fall camp. Yeah, I know he's a year 2 guy. He's a redshirt freshman. Developmentally, he's almost like a freshman, more or less, like a little bit more than your typical freshman, because he was taking some reps with the scout team late last year. And then when Carson goes down, he becomes our backup quarterback going into the bowl game. So a little bit more than your typical freshman, but developmentally, rep-wise, kind of in that stage. But the tools, guys, I've been saying all offseason long, the tools with Ryan Puglisi are absolutely tantalizing. That ball that he uncorked to Thomas Blackshear off play action. Oh my God. Like, I know it's okay. It's a 15, 20-yard gain. Like, don't get too excited, Tyler. But like, come on, man. The tools there, the zip that was on that football, the laser he threw and put it right there on his numbers. You saw it, guys. You saw it. You had a design QB draw from him. He's got the athleticism that Gunner has. Also a bigger guy that can run with some power, runs with some physicality. I love the guy. Is he ready right now? No, he's not. But I am a firm believer. Like, I love Jared Curtis. I think Ryan Montgomery, the third guy, is actually going to be a really good player for us. But Puglisi is going to be right in the thick of that competition to be the next Georgia quarterback in the post-Gunnar Stockton era, right? I know some people want him to be the guy right now. I'm not there right now. I think Gunnar did a really good job week one, but we can go back and revisit that as the season progresses. Hopefully, it doesn't get to that point, but I do think he has a very bright future, and I hope that's at Georgia at some point. I think the guy is an incredibly talented football player. So, all in all, quarterbacks, and we spend a little more time there than some of these other positions because that is the most important position on the team. But I'll give him a B plus there, just falling ever so slightly short of an A. Wide receivers also going to go a B plus here, guys. Zachariah Branch is an absolute game changer. 3 catches, 95 yards, but that does not do justice to the wow factor and how he went about getting those 95 yards. He's just the type of guy that we did not have a year ago. The type of guy we haven't had in a minute at receiver. And I don't intend that to be shade at Dom Lovett, who was a really good player for us, did some really good things. But we did not have a dude like this at wide receiver. So I talked about one of the issues we had in the run game last year, as I've been talking about all offseason, was that we didn't have anyone that really scared defenses one-on-one on the outside, right? So why would they not load the box, take away our run game? What were we going to do about it? What was our answer? We didn't really have one, right? Guys, yeah, now we do. Now we do. His name is Zachariah Branch. He's not the only one. Colby Young is also an answer. I think Noah Thomas can be an answer. I think London Humphreys can be an answer now in year two. But Zachariah Branch is probably answer number one right now. I mean, guys, how beautiful, how amazing was it to watch a guy go out there and do what he was doing in the way that he did it, with the explosiveness that he brought to the table. And guys, we were so vanilla. Like the touchdown catch and run he had, that 40-yarder, he was the last option in the progression. He was the check down guy. He was literally the last option. That wasn't even play designed for him. And he took that and you saw what he did with it. And I know it's Marshall, I get it, I understand. But again, guys, we play teams like Marshall every year. And we haven't had guys doing what we saw Zachariah Branch do and looking the way that Zachariah Branch looked on Saturday. The dude is just different. So that screen game that everyone hated last year so much, whether it was the RPO screen game, whether it was the design screen game, and that one big screen he had in the first quarter that was actually a design screen that was done RPO. That screen game all of a sudden has become a lot more lethal with a guy like Zachariah Branch out there catching those screens. So thought he was incredible. Colby Young didn't do a lot, 2 catches, 30 yards, but has some nice catches. That second catch, I thought he was about to rip out of that tackle. He's a big physical guy. I thought he was about to rip out of it and go break it, but just couldn't quite get there. But still a nice game there. Just wasn't a ton of opportunities for the receivers really outside of Zachariah Branch, and he didn't really get that many opportunities himself. Again, just a very vanilla offensive approach. So we weren't trying to feed the receivers the way that we might in a game in Knoxville in a couple of weeks. So all in all, I liked what I saw from him catching the football. You have an explosive playmaker, Zachariah Branch, guy that we just didn't have last year. I also thought the perimeter blocking was improved. Another reason why we struggled to run the football last year, we didn't block well on the perimeter. Because you got guys like Arian Smith, you got a guy like Dom Lovett. Love those guys, great guys. And like, hey, they're dogs, we love them. But not the biggest guys, not the best blockers out there. That hurt us. That hurt us at times, right? Well, this year, I love what we saw from Colby Young. Even Zachariah Branch, I thought did a nice job out there trying to block in the perimeter. London Humphreys did a good job. So all in all, receivers really, really good out there for us. So I'm gonna give them a B plus. I'm really excited about this unit, guys. I think we're just scratching the surface of what we're gonna get, the production we're gonna get from this wide receiver unit in 2025. Tight ends, real quick, won't spend a lot of time here on them. I do think that tight ends are gonna end up being a big part of this offense off of play action. If we're gonna establish the run game and be more of the old school Georgia, establish a downhill physical run game, work play action off that. I think the tight ends are going to be a big part of that. Do we have Brock Bowers on the team? No, of course we don't have a guy like that because that guy's a freaking unicorn, right? Just that can't be the standard. But we have a really good group of tight ends. I would argue still the best tight end room in the entire country. Obviously, you have Oscar Delp, who's going to year 3 essentially as a starter. Lawson Lucky, year 2 as a starter. And a little bit of a surprise for me. Maybe not the most surprising things. I did love him out of high school, and I told you guys that. And I thought he would play. I said he was one of those guys that I thought had a chance to play 10% of our offensive snaps this year as a true freshman. But I did not see Ethan Barbour coming out there with number one offense on the first play of the game. So technically started that game. I didn't see that one coming, guys. I thought it would be Jaden Riddell. I thought that because that's the guy that was the number 3 tight end all spring long. When I was at practice, when you G Day, and again, I wasn't at fall camp, so like everything I was getting out of fall camp, guys, it's hearsay, it's second information. People I trust that usually lead me in the right direction. But things change really quickly, guys, and you're relying on someone else's interpretation of what they're seeing. But I was told that Jaden Riddell had a really strong fall camp, so I just assumed, okay, he looked really good in the spring, which what I saw with my own 2 eyes. Continues to have a good fall camp, so like he's going to be the number 3 tight end, right? Maybe not. Now, he got a lot of reps, right? He got a ton of reps as well. But Barbour was the first guy out there as the number 3 tight end. So I'm not blown away by that because I think the guy's an incredibly talented football player. I loved him at Milton High School. And like I told you guys last week, in the depth chart projection, which I didn't get all of them right. I didn't get this one right. Got some right, missed some. But I did feel that Ethan Barbour was probably ahead of Elias Williams, even though I felt I had been told Elias had an awesome fall camp, but it was Barbour who was ahead of him in the spring. And Barbour coming out of high school, just like he played real tight end at Milton, whereas Elias didn't. He played Camden. Camden, he was basically a receiver. So I felt that Barbour, just technically speaking, was more equipped to probably play a little bit more earlier because he's just more of a true tight end, at least has spent more time playing that position. Elias has really improved and gotten better at that spot. Had that nice touchdown catch, right? But yeah, Ethan Barbour, good player, and I'm really excited that he's done enough in fall camp to earn the trust of the coaches to go out there and earn some real playing time. Now, he didn't see any passes, but I still you have him out there in the field. The guy's it's only a matter of time because the guy is a really, really good pass catcher. So if you look at it in totality, the tight ends, I thought the blocking was much improved. The numbers of production from a receiving standpoint weren't like blow you away numbers, but good. 4 catches, 62 yards, a touchdown combined together among all the tight ends. Again, Elias Williams scored the first, what I believe is going to be many touchdowns for him in the Georgia red and black. So really like what I saw from them. Can't quite go A yet, but B plus, strong performance by the tight ends from the blocking game and the receiving game as well. Running backs. All right. I've given B pluses so far. I'm gonna give my first true B. Straight B here for the running backs. It was a very solid, but not spectacular performance, if that makes sense. Dwight Phillips, guys, Peanut, is going to inject some much needed explosiveness into our run game. He did it to a small degree late last year, right? Kind of a gadget player. But I told you guys what I was hearing was that during fall camp, like he was getting real reps at scrimmages, like carrying the ball between the tackles, which he really didn't last year. And it kind of echoed what I saw myself going back to the spring. So I saw it, continue to hear it. Chances are it's probably going to happen in real games. And that's exactly what happened, right? Now, he didn't get as many touches as Nate Frazier did, who's still our lead back. But Dwight has put on some good weight. He's still not a big guy. He's never going to be a big guy. But this dude is a legit track guy. I mean, he's a 10-1-ish, like high 10-1, low 10, 200-meter guy. His dad's a former Olympic gold medalist, all right? The genes are there. He's a great gene pool to work with. Just an explosive playmaker who wasn't quite ready last year physically until late in the year, using in that kind of gadget role, but he's going to be much more a factor on standard downs for this Georgia run game in 2025. Nate Frazier, I thought was good, not elite. I thought good. The good part here is I thought he ran the ball with physicality and ran the ball with authority. Nate does that, man. He picks up the tough yards. He will fight for yards. He's a fighter out there. But my critique for Nate Frazier in this game is essentially the same as it was most of last year. I think Nate has the physical tools to be like the next great Georgia running back. I think he's got all the tools you can want in a running back. But my critique is that he's often just not patient enough allowing blocks to set up. It's almost like he's so over eager that he just like puts his head down and just like runs into the wall, basically. Runs in the line of scrimmage, just like plows into it. And like there's something to be said for that. It's 3rd and 1, like you're on the goal line right against Georgia Tech in overtime number 8. Yeah, just put your head down and get the yard, dude. And he does that very well. But at times I think he limits his explosiveness. He has explosive ability, guys. He's an explosive back. He's fast, he's athletic, he's twitchy, but he doesn't always allow blocks to set up, right? And we're running a lot of gap scheme stuff. In this game against Marshall, he did not do a great job, at least not consistently enough, of allowing the pullers to get in front of him and to basically play off of those blocks. Again, it's too over eager. Maybe it's just a game one thing. So it's that a 9-month long offseason, just like you and I have, and he was eager to get out there. Maybe. But there were a couple of runs that I think had a chance to spit out. If you go back and on second and third rewatch, there were a couple of runs on some of those counters that could have easily spit out if he would have just waited like I'm talking a split second longer to allow those blocks set up and to play off of them. But instead, had a good game, but his longest run was 12 yards. I think he had a couple of chances to break some for like 20, 30 plus yards, and it just didn't happen because he's just not quite patient enough. So, again, physical tools are all there. I just want to, he's still a young guy. I want to see him to continue to improve just setting those blocks up because once he figures out that part of his game, yeah, the guy is going to be a monster to deal with out there on the football field. And then Cash Jones did Cash Jones things on third downs, right? Somebody tried to tell me last week that Cash was going to be a part of the rotation. Like, yeah, guys, yeah, of course he was. He was our third down back last year. What changed this year? They wasn't going to be our third down back. Cash is going to be the third down back all year long. Like, he's not going to be a part of the standard down rotation, like on first and second down. But third downs, Cash is the guy, right? And caught a couple passes, doing cash nuts on third downs. You get him matched up with a linebacker or a star or a safety one on one. Give him a little option route. Cash are going to win those the vast majority of the time. So I'm doing some cash things out there. I thought Chauncey Bowens was really good. I think Dwight Phillips probably. I liked I love what I saw from Dwight because the explosiveness there. But Bowens was good. He did have the longest run of the day. I think it was a 21 yarder. And on that run, he actually showed me a gear that I had not quite seen from him on the field in a Georgia uniform yet. Now, last year, you're a freshman. You weren't playing maybe as fast as you would normally like to because you're thinking out there too much. But Bowens is a guy I keep saying about him. I'm telling you guys, when I talk to people that are at practice during fall camp, Chauncey Bowens was not a guy that's brought up regularly. He just wasn't. Like, and that's not saying he wasn't having a good camp. Clearly, he did because he earned a lot of playing time. He was the number two guy, or I guess actually Phillips was the number two guy, and then Bowens. But he was right there in that conversation. But I didn't get his name was not brought up to me on a consistent basis as much as a guy like Bo Walker and Nate Frazier were. But every time you go out there, whether it's G Day, whether it's a scrimmage, whether it's game day here, the guy just goes out there and makes plays. So there's something to it. Maybe like when the lights come on, this guy just shines. And hey, man, that's ultimately what matters, right? That's ultimately what matters. So I really liked what I saw from Bowens there. I was surprised we did not see more of Josh McCray, the transfer from Illinois, but it also at the same time maybe isn't all that surprising considering that he basically missed the first week of fall camp with some sort of illness, was not here for spring practice. He was a spring portal window guy, and was banged up. At least there's something going on in the second scrimmage where he was kind of limited in that scrimmage, so he shouldn't get the reps. So I do expect him to probably be more of a factor in our offense as the season progresses. It just didn't get the reps in fall camp to warrant more carries this early in the season. But he was Illinois' leading rusher last year. That doesn't mean he's going to be Georgia's leading rusher, but I thought there's a good chance he might be our number two back going back to when we got him, right? But the injury or the illness slash somewhat maybe a little bit of an injury late in fall camp kind of sent him back there. Bo Walker's a guy that I got wrong. All right. And I know when I did my depth chart projection, I told you guys at the time, I'm taking a flyer here. And I gave you a confidence meter for every prediction that I made for that depth chart prediction. And my number two running back prediction was a one. That was a one on my confidence meter on a scale of 1 to 10 because I didn't know. I'd heard so many different things about different backs. Like Nate Frazier was clearly 10 out of 10, the number one back. But at times I'd heard the good things about Dwight Phillips. I heard, then you have the Chauncey Bowens who does a really good job when the lights come on. But I kept hearing going back to fall camp or go to spring practice throughout fall camp, Bo Walker. Yeah, he's a freshman. His name kept coming up time and time and time again. And I saw it with my own two eyes at practice in the spring and at G Day. So I was a believer. So yeah, you know what? I took a flyer and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say Bo Walker's gonna be our number two back behind Nate Frazier week one. I was wrong. I was way wrong on that. He was like what, number four? Right? Number four. So definitely got that wrong. But again, like when Bo got in the game, I know it's late in the game. I thought Bo looked good, man. Like, he just has this knack. Like with Nate, again, I think his issue is like patience, like the nuances of playing the running back position. But he's a dynamic athlete. Well, it's kind of the inverse with Bo. Bo's a good athlete. He's not a dynamic athlete. He's not a burner, but he's got really good quickness and the nuances of playing that position. That dude's got in spades. He just knows how to pick up yards, guys. He just knows how to pick up yards. Runs hard. Got some twitch in his game. It's just a good running back. So I think his carries are going to increase as the season progresses. But we have a bunch of good backs, right? Now, no one was spectacular. That's why it's a B. But I saw some good things there, and I saw some promising signs what can be as we continue moving forward throughout the rest of this 2025 season. All right, so you talk about the running backs. We got about the offensive line here. Then we'll flip things over to the defense. Offensive line, I'm going to go with B also here, guys. Mixed bag. Let's start with the good. We'll get to the bad. Let's start with the good here. I thought the interior of the offensive line, center and guards, played really well in the run game. which is kind of what I expected because we have a lot of size, especially at guard with Juan Gaston at 360. We got a lot of movement up front. All right. I thought we did a really good job there. I liked what I saw in the gap scheme stuff. I thought they moved well, getting out on the perimeter and trying to get out in front of our running backs and block for them. The running backs didn't always let them set up blocks, but they did a good job doing what they were supposed to. And Juan Gaston, true freshman, who that's one I didn't get Bo Walker right. I did hit Juan Gaston, telling you he was going to start at right guard, and he did. He went out with an injury late in the first half, or first quarter, first half, sometime in the first half of that game. Don't love that. I'm hopeful that he'll be back at least for the Tennessee game. We'll see. Kirby says probably an ankle, and if I just hope to God it's not high ankle. If it is, man, it's gonna be a while, especially a guy that big. But Gasson is just different. That dude is different. We need him on the field. We are better with him on the field. Like, talk about guys on gap schemes pulling. This dude's 360 plus. He came in at 392, dropped about 30 pounds. Kudos to him because it was not good weight. He got himself in shape. But the way he was able to move, pulling out in the perimeter at 360 pounds is ridiculous. It's just not fair. He should not be able to move the way that he moves. And dear Lord, he made that one poor Marshall DB completely regret all of his life choices. The one he just basically put 6 feet under. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about on that play. So he was awesome. Hopefully he gets back healthy. Hopefully it's a very minor thing. He'll be fine there. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Monroe Freeling at left tackle. I thought a really strong day, guys. I think Monroe Freeling has a chance to be an All-American this year. Now, the thing about All-American, when we talk about offensive linemen, most people who vote for these things don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what to be watching for. They just go by name recognition, right? So I don't know if he'll be that guy based on that, but I thought he played really well. I'm so happy with Monroe Freeling. I know it wasn't a great look at the end of last year. The Notre Dame game leaves a sour taste in your mouth. I get it. But, guys, he had a torn up labrum. He had labrum surgery like right after that game, okay? He wasn't fully healthy, and he was out there doing whatever he could for the team, all right? But that guy has the footwork, he has the length, he has what it takes to be a big time left tackle, right? He was just young. He was growing, he's developing, but now he's not young. Now he's a third year guy. And I expect to see the best version of Monroe Freeling. And if what we saw against Marshall is a sign of what we're going to see from the rest of the year, yeah, that's an all-American caliber type guy, 100%. So love what I saw from Monroe there. I thought and also beyond just the physical tools, I thought he played with a really high motor. I thought he was playing with physicality. I thought he was playing with a little nastiness in his game, which is what you love from your offensive lineman. So love that guy. I thought he was physically owning guys out there at times against Marshall. I did think that he was the best in pass pro, which shouldn't surprise anyone. I think that probably should be the case right now. Your left tackle, a guy with the athleticism, the footwork, and the length that he has. I also liked what I saw from the backup tackles. I thought Jazar Jackson, who coming this season, like, is he or is he not going to be suspended? He had the off the field driving incident, but it was just internal punishment. He was able to play. I thought he looked good, guys. Just remember, about a year and a half ago, this guy was playing like city pro basketball. He hadn't played football in like 4 years. The amount that he has developed through the first year or so on campus is crazy, guys. The physical tools, man, 6'10", 350-ish pounds. Like, this guy has all the makings of an NFL left tackle, right? I love the guy. I think he's going to be awesome. He's still learning, still growing, but he has come so far from when he got on campus. The development has just been so rapid, far more rapid than I thought it would be. I thought Bo Hughley did a nice job on the other side over there. So there was a lot of good, but we got to be objective here, all right? And man, I hate to do this. I hate to. I was really hoping I wouldn't have to, guys. But I gotta be objective. Gotta keep it real with you guys. Ernest Green. Ernest Green. Ernest Green. Okay. Ernest Green. Here we go. We know if you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, you know my history with Ernest Green. If you're new to the show, I'll make it short and sweet for you. He's been playing left tackle since he got here. He's going to his third year as a starter. First 2 years starting at left tackle. First year was a redshirt year because he basically did break his back. But he messed his back up, had back surgery. Showed some good signs as a redshirt freshman. Wasn't great early, got better. Encouraged me that he'd be a good player for us last year. Last year was a disaster for him, like it was for a lot of the offensive line. But there was context there. He was injured. He was trying to tough it out like a lot of the guys in the offensive line were. He got out of shape because he wasn't really practicing much. He got too big. His feet were stuck in concrete. It just is what it is. So we made the move. All right, well, we can't trust you at left tackle. Like, Monroe's just more of a natural left tackle than you. It just is what it is. So, but we still like you, so we're going to try you at right tackle. Now, I've been saying for 2 years now, I think he's far more of a guard than he is a tackle. So that's not his fault that the coaches continue to insist on playing him in a spot that can he function at tackle? Yeah, he can function there. Is he a big time tackle? I think the proof is in the pudding, guys. I don't think like we have no. Based on what I've seen at this point, no. Can he be? Maybe. He's a top 50 guy coming to high school, but like there's a lot of top 50 guys that don't pan out to be what they were supposed to be. I hope so, man. Like the guy works hard. He's a Georgia guy. I don't like saying negative things about our guys. I'm just trying to keep it real. I hope to God he can become a top 50 caliber player like he was coming out of high school. I just haven't seen it, man. Like, I'm just being real with you. I have not seen it. Whether it's injuries last year or first year as a starter, you're growing, learning. I just haven't seen it, right? And I was hopeful, okay, right tackle. And I was told, again, didn't see with my own two eyes during fall camp, but I thought he did look better during the spring. I was moderately encouraged there. And I was told during fall camp, hey, coming into fall camp, he had a great summer, man. He's got his body in the best shape he's ever been in. And I look him out there on the field on Saturday, and I'm like, he looks the exact same as last year. Like, I don't know. And then you have a couple situations where we're dying up play action, right? And this is where the bad, not just him, but we did not do a good enough job of protecting the quarterback off of play action. We lost some guys in play action with some of our slide protections there. And it's a young offensive line or an experienced offensive line, so that's natural maybe the first game. But Ernest Green got straight up beat. There's one play in particular, he got straight up beat, right? And we had a shot down the field. Gunner was I can't tell you for certainty that it was going to be a home run, but it had a shot down the field. But we couldn't get it out. We got the ball out, but it didn't have time for the play to develop because Ernest got beat and allowed pressure in Gunner's face far quicker than there needed to be. All right. And that's just something I've seen from him too much. So left tackle, right tackle, it seems to be a lot of the same thing. And now it's just one game. Maybe I'm overreacting here. Maybe. But man, I still have a lot of questions there at right tackle. So if there's one spot on the offensive line, I like what I saw from the interior. I like left tackle. I thought Boba did a good job at center. Right tackle, still have some questions there. And here's the thing, guys. Like I know they're inexperienced, and Kirby certainly puts a premium on experience. But if Bo Hughley and Jazar Jackson continue to progress at the rate that they are, at some point, if we keep seeing that kind of stuff from Ernest Green, do we not consider like giving somebody else a shot at some point, especially when it's not an injury thing like it was last year? Like yeah, last year I get it, it's an injury thing, right? But it's not the case right now, as far as we know. So that concerns me, man. That certainly concerns me there. Again, I think he should be inside. It's not so much his fault, but that if there's something that gives me some concern offensively heading into the game in Knoxville in 2 weeks, it's that because they have some guys that can rush the passer. They do. They do. And, they saw, like, if I saw it on tape, the Tennessee coaches who do this for a living and get paid millions of dollars to do this for a living, they saw it. And, they're going to try to exploit that as well. So I hate to be that guy. I hate it, but you got to be real. Got to keep it real there. All right. Defensively, let's flip it over to the other side of the ball here. Big picture look defensively. Absolutely dominant effort by the Georgia defense against a style of offense that has given us a lot of issues the past 2 years, right? The spread option based attack, spread run attack. This is a style of offense that even like I know you say, well, Tyler, it's Marshall. Of course we're going to stop them. Guys, UMass ran for 200 plus yards on us last year, running a very similar style of offense with a dual threat quarterback, a lot of misdirection. That has killed us for 2 years running. And I made that very clear in my preview episode last week. But we held them, our starting defense held them to 82 yards total offense and 2.3 yards per play through the first 3 quarters of this game. Yeah, I put a lot of backups in, kind of empty the bench in the fourth quarter, and they put up a score and whatever. But 82 total yards, 2.3 yards per play through the first 3 quarters of this football game when your starters are out there. They could not do anything offensively. Now, yeah, they had a freshman quarterback starting. That didn't help matters. That was a choice in this game, but hey, maybe it'll pay dividends for them down the road. But whatever, I don't care. I know it's a new roster, whatever. That's how offense, even against overmatched teams like UMass, has given us issues at times in the recent past, and it simply did not this week, guys. And that coordinator, he had coordinated 2 top 3 rushing offenses the past 2 years at Jacksonville State, so he knows what to run. He knows how to call plays. Now we just physically dominated them, which is kind of what I said in the preview episode last week. But you had to go out there and do it, and that's exactly what the defense did. So love to see it. Marshall or not, I don't care. Defensive line. Is this my first A? I think this is, right? Yeah, A. Defensive line. Absolute A. Almost an A+. Loved what I saw from the defensive line. Because, guys, we have some straight-up dudes on that Georgia defensive line. Now, it's not the 2021 UGA line. That's an impossible standard, right? It's probably never going to happen again. With NIL, transfer portal, that'll probably never happen. With that type of depth and talent, that's crazy, right? But, man, I think that this defensive line, I know it's Marshall. I know. Let's not overreact. Let's be careful, all right? But is it crazy to say that this defensive line, as early as in the season, has the makings of being the closest that we've seen to the 2021 D line since 2021? I think it is, guys. And I know that we have some of the same players that were on some of these more recent defensive lines, but now they're a year older. They're better, right? And we've got more depth. We have more guys that are capable of playing winning football, and I think playing dominant football up front for us. When you throw a guy like Xavier McLeod in year two, who I thought showed some really strong signs at the end of last year, picked up right where he left off this year. Elijah Griffin, number one defensive tackle in the country. I mean, guys, already like physically dominating. I know it's Marshall, but physically dominating as an 18-year-old at this level. The one play he made, like stuffed it right at the line of scrimmage, like stoning a dude. You don't really see true freshmen do that this early in their career at that position. So that combo of talent and depth and versatility, because we have a number of guys that are moving around. You like watch our defensive line from snap to snap, play to play, guys. We're moving guys around. It might be the same guys out there, but they're moving around from 0 tech to 3 tech to a 2I to a 4I to a 5, moving all over the place because they had that type of versatility, right? A guy like Gabe Harris, who, by the way, I thought was like a freaking first rounder out there today or on Saturday. He put on the good weight. He needed guys 270 plus pounds now, which is my question about him the past couple of years. He was brought in initially as a jack linebacker, as an edge rusher, but we were playing more at the 5 tech because we had a lot of guys over there at jack, and we needed somebody at 5 tech. And he was a little undersized to set the edge. Whoa, now in that new number 0 jersey at 270 pounds, still moving the way that he moves, that guy is going to be a problem for opposing offense. I know it's early, right? Don't overreact too much, but for one game, he looked like a first rounder to me. All right, now let's do it consistently. But he showed the tools, guys. But he's case in point. Starting at 5 tech. You slide him inside, you play like a 4I. You slide him to a 3. There are a snap or two he's playing like almost like a 0 tech situationally. That's what we have on this defensive line. All those guys can move around. Christian Miller can move around. Jordan Hall can move around. Elijah Griffin can move around. Xavier McLeod can move around. All of them. They can move around, which is going to make it really difficult for opposing offenses to game plan for this Georgia defense. So if we do some way, somehow win a title this year, this defensive line is going to be a big part of why that happens. So yeah, Gabe Harris was awesome. I thought Christian Miller, a guy who I've been very high on for a couple of years now. Now he's playing like that more natural 3 tech position for him. Was very disruptive. I thought George Hall coming back from the stress fractures on both legs last year was moving better than I have ever seen him move at Georgia. Again, Elijah Griffin physically dominating people in the trenches at 18 years old. Xavier McLeod picking up right where he left off, creating negative plays, controlling blockers to the point of attack. This has the makings of a dominant college defensive line, guys. I mean that. It has the makings of that. So we'll see. I know I don't want to go too far overboard here, but I was incredibly impressed with what I saw. We'll find out real quick. We'll find out here in a couple of weeks when we head to Knoxville. So, yeah, man, love what I saw there. It's my first A. Speaking of A's, inside linebackers. Let's do it. Let's make it 2 in a row. Another A. Man, wow. That's all I can say about the inside linebackers. That is a big wow from the Georgia inside linebackers. And look, guys, you know if you've been listening to this show for a long time, you know how I feel about Georgia's inside linebackers. I've been saying all offseason that it's arguably the most talented position in all of college football. Short on experience and production, but the talent that we have amassed in that room, you'd be hard-pressed to find another room anywhere out there in the country that is as deep and talented as that Georgia inside linebacker room with multiple 5 stars. 2 number 1 inside linebackers in the country, whatever that means, I know, but like, we're talking about recruiting profiles. Guys, that is an incredibly talented room, and you start to see it on the field. Guys that haven't played a ton in their career, guys like Chris Cole and even more so Justin Williams, played a lot more in this game. We're part of that 2 deep rotation, that 4-man rotation inside linebacker, like I thought that they would be, and really played at a high level in this game against Marshall. So yeah, the inside linebackers were everything I thought they would be, and honestly, more guys. Like the high expectations I have for them, they even exceeded those. Raylan Wilson, of all the players, they were all awesome. And they all jumped out at me at different times. I thought Raylan might have had the best game of any of them, which is music to my ears, guys. So that is a dude that I have been waiting on. Going back to when he came out of high school, he was a higher rated guy coming out of high school than C.J. Allen was. C.J. Allen played more early. Raylan got banged up his freshman fall camp. That set him back a little bit. He played some, but he was not as advanced as a freshman as C.J. Allen was. And he was improved last year, but he would still get fooled from time to time with eye violations. He wasn't always playing 100 miles an hour. I think misdirection got to him, and he was kind of thinking too much out there. And I kept saying, like, if it ever clicks for him the sky is literally the limit for Raylan Wilson with the athleticism he has at that position. At least for one game. At least for one game, for whatever it's worth, it flat out clicked for Raylan Wilson. He was unstoppable out there on Saturday, running silent sideline, attacking downhill, being very decisive in his actions, not getting fooled by some of the misdirection they were throwing at us. He looked like a veteran who is in line for a monster year, which is exactly what I think he is. CJ Allen looked like CJ. He looked every bit the part of a Buckus Award finalist at the very least there. And again, of course, the 2024 guys, Justin Williams and Chris Cole, just left me absolutely salivating, guys. And again, I know I spent the entire offseason pumping the entire inside linebacker room up, but those two players in particular, and they absolutely delivered. Justin Williams stoning a running back on 3rd and short had me frothing at the mouth, guys. It has me frothing at the mouth just thinking about it right now. Because why did he not play more last year? He was the number 1 inside linebacker in the country, top 10 guy coming out of high school in 2024. Why didn't he play much last year? He wasn't big enough. He needed to add weight. He's too thin, right? And he's still kind of thin, but he's added a lot more weight. He's a lot bigger and thicker than he was last year. And if you would have told me coming to this game that Justin Williams would go there and just stone a dude at the line of scrimmage, I would have said, I need to see that because we didn't see that from him last year. He's more of a silent sideline, athletic type guy, which he still is that. But now that he can hold up between the tackles like that, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This dude is a freaking monster in the making. Total freak. And it was on full display on Saturday. Same thing with Chris Cole, guys. And Chris Cole, like, we didn't again, we're only scratching the surface of what we're going to do defensively. We were very vanilla on defense, just like we were on offense, because why would you show anything, right? But even as vanilla as we were, you had evidence of Chris Cole playing inside the box, at inside linebacker, off the ball, outside the box, rushing the passer. He's going to be a big part of our answers, trying to find some pass rush production, all the production we lost from last year. And I thought he did a great job rushing the passer. I thought he was our most effective and consistent pass rusher in this game. He should have had a sack, at least one sack. He kind of just missed the tackle on it. Like he just didn't finish the job. But it was actually an incredible pass rush. So he sets up the defender, the tackle, and shows incredible bend and kind of flips his hips back inside to follow the quarterback, but just couldn't quite get him down the ground. But that was an incredible pass rush there. We're going to see a lot more of that throughout this season. So love Chris Cole, love Justin Williams, love CJ, love Raylan. They all looked freaking awesome, and I could not be more excited about that Georgia inside linebacker room. All right, outside linebackers. Okay, so I went 2 A's in a row. Now we gotta bring things back down a little bit because I was not as excited about the outside linebacker play in this game. If there was one position that we just didn't really look like Georgia at, if that makes sense, I would say it was outside linebacker, that edge jack linebacker position. So I'm gonna go with C plus for the outside linebackers. It wasn't a disaster. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't great, and it left me somewhat concerned about our ability to rush the passer from that position moving forward against better teams. Because Marshall's not good right now, guys. They're not, and we did not get much pass rush from that position in this game. And setting the edge was also inconsistent from that position in this game. Quintavious Johnson got the start. I thought it would be Chris Jones based off him starting the last scrimmage of fall camp. And he came in and played a lot for us with the number 1 defense. But it was actually Quintavious Johnson, who was the guy all spring long, so that shouldn't be that much of a surprise because we didn't have a lot of bodies. But both Johnson and Jones played a good amount in that first half. And I thought Chris Jones, I think he's going to be good at that position. I think he's got some athleticism. I think he's got some pass rush ability. But he was recruited as an inside linebacker out of high school. Now, he was bigger than most of our inside linebackers, like 230, 235. But he's still kind of smaller for the jack linebacker position. So that's why I had some questions about his ability to hold up, setting the edge at this point in his career, playing jack linebacker. I just don't know if he's quite big enough yet. And he has some trouble in that regard. I thought he got pushed around some of the run game. There was one play he got straight up pancaked, which, it happens, but you don't want to see that happening against Marshall. That's not ideal. One of the two guys that were playing like the first real snaps for the number 1 defense for you at that position. You don't love that. What I would say about the outside linebacker spot here moving forward is that we need to get Elo Madozi up to speed real quick. I think Quintavious Johnson and Chris Jones are going to be good players for us, but they're both really young. They're both second-year guys. And I just don't know if they're ready to be dudes right now, like elite pass rush guys right now. I haven't seen that yet. Like maybe I just have not seen that yet. Madozi is the most talented guy, the most experienced guy, not at this level, but the most experienced guy, at least in the college level. The problem is he's just new, right? He's new, and he was not here for the spring. That hurts. I was hopeful he would play more earlier with the number 1 defense. He didn't. He did not get a lot of snaps at all with the number 1 defense. Some, but not a ton, not as much as I would have liked for him to have, because I think he is the guy that has the higher ceiling right now this season for this Georgia football team at that position. So we need him to get up to speed, to continue to accelerate that development. And we need him to get to a spot where the coaches are comfortable putting him on the field in 2 weeks in Neyland Stadium. Because pass rush right now for me is a concern from that spot. I think Mendoza can be a big part of that answer, but he's just got to continue to grow, continue to develop, continue to get familiar with our defense, and continue to earn the trust of our coaches. Because once that happens, I think we'll be in a lot better spot. Because there's one position on this defense right now that concerns me. It's that spot. So again, not a disaster, but there are some concerns there, at least from a passer standpoint. So I'm going to go C plus for the outside linebackers. But let's get back to giving out some A's here. Cornerbacks, I thought looked really good, guys. Now, Marshall didn't really challenge us on the football also. There's that. But I'm going to give him an A here. And no Dalen Everett. Dalen Everett got banged up last week, and it was precautionary. Just didn't go in this game. Didn't even go in this game for obvious reasons. So was Daniel Harris, and it was former number 2 player overall in the country, Ellis Robinson the fourth at the other cornerback there. I thought they both did a really good job, broke up some passes. DeMello Jones, who's the guy that I think gets lost in the shuffle sometimes, I thought he played very well when he got time out there as well. He played a lot, and I thought he played very well and kind of acquitted himself very nicely there. Ellis was blanketing receiver, so was Daniel Harris. I also, later in the game, really liked what I saw from Dominic Kelly, and that goes back to the spring, guys. I actually liked what I saw from Kelly in the spring. Very young, learning what to do, new guy. But I think that guy's going to be a big-time corner for Georgia down the road. Not this year, but just keep that name in your back pocket. I think he's going to be really good. I thought he did some good things out there on Saturday. Aguero, we're going to throw him in with the cornerbacks as well as kind of that nickel DB. I thought he was very physical at star, which is kind of what he brings to the table. But I also thought he did a really good job holding up in coverage from that nickel position, which has always been kind of the question with him. But I think he's really improved his coverage ability there. So I love Janelle. I think he's in line for a big year for us at that star position. So, guys, very strong day overall for the cornerbacks, and we didn't even have our top guy, Dalen Everett, who I think ended up being a first-round draft pick. So, great day from the cornerbacks. They definitely get an A. Safety, I'm gonna go B plus here. KJ Bolden is an All-American. Can we all agree with that? Like, I don't know if he'll end up being named an All-American, but I think he's an All-American caliber player. I suffice that to say. The guy starting next to him, I was surprised. From what I saw, and somebody tell me if I'm wrong, watching it live there in the stadium and then going back and rewatching it, it was Kyron Jones who got the start opposite KJ Bolden, which that one caught me by surprise. There are a couple of positional moves that caught me by surprise. Like I thought Bo Walker had a shot to be at least like maybe our number 3 guy. Didn't happen, right? But this one got me a little bit because everything I'd been told all fall camp was that it was Ja'Cory Thomas and Adrian Maddox. And Maddox got the start in the last scrimmage. And Kyron Jones, like he's been in the conversation, he's been in the mix, but at no point did anyone I trust be like, oh yeah, Kyron Jones, like watch out for this guy. I didn't hear that, and that's why that's the risk you run, like trying to put out information out there when you don't see with your own 2 eyes. Like try to give you guys what I hear. So I was very surprised. That one caught me off guard. I thought he played well. I thought he did some good things. He's been in the system now for a year or two, but I didn't see that one coming, and I'm not sure I expect that to hold long term. We'll see. Ja'Cory Thomas is the guy I thought most of the offseason would be the guy because he's going to year 4. I thought it might be like a Chris Smith trajectory. You put in your time, paid your dues, you know the system, your coaches trust you. It made too much sense, right? But then Adrian Maddox comes on really strong during fall camp, and he gets the start in the final fall scrimmage. It's like, okay, maybe he's the guy. So I thought it was going to be one of those 2 guys. I was wrong. I didn't see Kyron Jones coming. But good for him, man. Good for him. I want the best guy to play. Like, that's all I care about. I don't have favorites out there in terms of like, oh, I really hope it's this guy. I just want the best guy to play. And if that's Kyron Jones, more power to him, man. Let's freaking go. But I'm not sure I expect that to hold. We'll see. Because I think Adrian Maddox is a really talented guy. And the more he learns our system and gets more trust from the coaching staff, he might end up being that guy long term. But I thought they played well, especially when you have a guy like KJ Bolden out there. Special teams ace KJ Bolden too, by the way, right? I got to go at least a B plus there with how KJ played. And I thought they had we had some nice contributions from the guys opposite KJ back there at that other safety position. But all right, guys, that is it for our week 1 reaction episode. Guys, every episode that we do reacting to all these, each game that we have this season, it's not going to be me giving out grades every single week, unless you guys want that. If you want it, like I'm producing content for you guys, right? At the end of the day, you guys are the ones I'm here to make stuff for. So if you want it, that's what we'll do. But when you have a game like this, and we've been waiting 9 months for some Georgia football, why not go big and break down my thoughts on every single position on the entire football team? So that's what we did here today, guys. We'll do some different things as we get in, like, I don't want to say real games, but like, let's say SEC opponents, more competitive games, we shall say. So we got a lot of stuff coming, guys, the rest of this season. So if you are a diehard Georgia fan, I'm telling you, if this episode itself is not evidence of what you can expect, everything we do here is truly designed for all you diehard Georgia fans. This is not a safe space for casual fans. That's not what we do here. This is for you guys. So if you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe right now, hit those notifications, like the video, comment. What do you guys think about this game? What were your biggest takeaways? Who did you think performed really well? Who were you concerned about? I'd love to hear from you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, guys. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you again for hitting that 3,500 subscriber button. But onward and upward, we're shooting for 5,000 by the time we end this season. So let's do it, guys. Let's make that happen. But for now, I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs!
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.